So problem 14, the question says, which table of values does not represent a function? So let's review what we looked at when we looked at tables and to determine if it was a function. Generally, we would take our information and we would put it into a map diagram. So a map diagram was, remember, we had our x and our y values, and we'd put all our x values in one spot and all our y values in the other. We would list our x values or our domain, and remember, we would not repeat any numbers. And then we would list our range, and again, we would not repeat any numbers. And then we had to draw those arrows. So if negative 6, 2 was an ordered pair, we would draw an arrow there. And if 1, 2 was an ordered pair, that would be another arrow. And if 5, 7 was an ordered pair. Now the definition of a function is every input has exactly one output. So if this input has exactly one output, that's what we want. If this input has exactly one output, and if this input has exactly one output, that represents a function. So this example that I just did here would be a function. So now that we've kind of looked at what a mapping diagram is, let's go and take all of our tables and put those into mapping diagrams and see which one of these is not a function. So let's put the first one into a mapping diagram. So I'm going to have my x values, and I'll put those over here, and I put negative 1, 0, and 1. And then my y values, I'm going to put 0 and 2. And remember, you don't repeat. Even though there are 2 zeros here, I only put the 0 once when I do my map diagram. So now I'll draw arrows to my ordered pairs. So negative 1, 0 is an ordered pair. 0, 0 is an ordered pair, and 1, 2 is an ordered pair. So again, this is a function if every input has exactly one output. This input has exactly one output, and this input has exactly one output. So this is a function, so letter A is a function because every input has exactly one output. So I'm just going to write here that this is a function. And then I'll move on to the next one. All right, so I'm going to move on to letter B. So again, I have my x values, and I'm going to put all of those, and I have a negative 1, a 0, and a 1. And in the y, for my domain or for my output, I have negative 2, 0, and 2. So I'll draw my arrows. Negative 1, negative 2 is an ordered pair, 0, 0 is an ordered pair, and 1, 2 is an ordered pair. So again, this input has exactly one output. This input has exactly one output, and this input has exactly one output. So letter B is a function. So let's go on to our next one, letter C. So this was letter B I did, and that was a function. And now I'm moving on to letter C. So I have my x values, and I'll put those over here. So I'll put negative 1 and 0, and again, I'll only put the 0 once. And then on my y, I'll put negative 2, 0, and 2. And then I'll draw my arrows. So negative 1, negative 2 is an ordered pair, 0, 0 is an ordered pair, and 0, 2 is an ordered pair. So let's check. This input has exactly one output. This input has 2 outputs. See how this input is going to 2 different outputs. So that tells me that letter C is not a function.
All right, I need to try this.
So I think the answer is letter C, but I think it's always a good idea to check all of your choices just in case you made a mistake, or maybe there's a question where there's more than one answer. On some questions on the MCA test, they might ask you, to choose all that are not a function. Where I think this one there's just one, but I still think it's a good idea to check all of them. So next I'm going to check letter D. All right, so if I look at letter D and I put my x values over here, I have negative 1, 0, and 1. And then if I look at my y values, I have negative 1, 0, 1. So I'll draw my arrows. Negative 1 is an ordered pair. 0, 0 is an ordered pair. And 1, 1 is an ordered pair. So again, does this input have exactly one output? Yes. This input has exactly one output, and this input has exactly one output. So letter D is also a function. So we found that the one that was not a function was letter C. This is not a function, and the reason was because 0, my input of 0, had two different outputs, 0 and 2.